that's coming into Tulsa right now. Again, power outages showing up on the west side of town, and this is a good look at it. Here's the downtown area. So this is downtown, to put it in perspective, Tulsa Hills here, and then, of course, Jinx further south. So this is coming up on Highway 75 right now. Winds estimated to be 70 miles an hour with this, and that's why the power flashes are occurring. Power flashes are when pretty much power lines are getting arced. And so when that happens, then a lot of times we have power grid issues, and that's what we expect will be happening. We won't know for about 5 to 10 minutes because we'll start getting those reports coming in. But right now we do know that there's a high probability that is happening with winds of 70 miles per hour on the west side of town. We are under a severe thunderstorm warning. And so this is a leading edge, and this is the most powerful winds right now where John is located. You see the magenta, or I shouldn't say magenta, more of a light-colored blue right in here, kind of a turquoise color. So that's now around the Oakhurst area coming in on the southwest sides of town. And here's what Stacia has put together for us, as that is now arcing off to the east, northeast. So that leading edge now near Highway 75. So that's going to hit you hard, slamming into the area. Going to knock out some power for some folks. God willing, it doesn't happen to very many people. I was just going to come on and talk about how cool the weather was. I literally just drove in from Nebraska just about an hour and a half ago, and we were just enjoying the temperatures that were so much better than here. I was looking at it today, and I was like, oh my goodness, it is just, you can't even breathe tonight until these thunderstorms came in. The good news is it's going to be cooler. Bad news is right now we're putting up with a transition zone. What's happening at this moment is, as this continues to move to the east, Highway 75, strongest winds here, extending back on up to around the Berry Hill area, moving into west southwest Tulsa, and then that extends back down to the south from Tulsa Hills Highway 75. So you will experience very strong winds, potential power outages. Don't forget we're streaming. So a lot of folks just say, we just go to that anyway, because a lot of times our satellite thing kind of blows off kilter, and then it's better to just do that. Here's a live look at what it looks like from downtown. So this is the lowered cloud deck, lightning in behind it. This is the strong winds coming in. This is over the refinery area, and so this is coming in. I'll get out of the picture so you can kind of get a good view of what's going on. We don't see any circulation features at this moment with this, but we do see very strong winds and lowered cloud deck, as you can see, as that's moving across the area. And John, going to get another update from you while you're still in the midst of it. I know that's going to be blowing off to your east. What do you have for us right now? What are you getting?
Right now I'm trying to get out ahead of it again, Travis. Heading into the Berry Hill area. Still seeing some power flashes occasionally, not like we did just a few minutes ago. But the wind is very strong out of the northwest, and the rain is just torrential.
All right.
And almost impossible to drive at any speed through this.
Yeah, you take it easy. All right, yeah, I'll let you just drive and focus on that so we don't hydroplane. Good thing is that tonight at this time we don't have that many folks driving. But again, from 41st Street and extending from Prattville, and so you can see where John is on 41st right now. And then the Prattville area, and then Berry Hill. Prattville's kind of back behind him at this point. So this is already moved into southwest Tulsa, moving over west Tulsa and getting ready to get near the refineries downtown. And so we are getting some strong wind indications. You can see as this goes from dark green to light green to red, that's when we start to get into more of a dangerous category in terms of more power outages are likely. So that's what we're seeing right now on the southwest sides of the city. Lots and lots of lightning. Aaron was mentioning that a while ago. It's just like crazy lightning. As I was coming on in, I was just like, wow, it's a lightning deluxe. I mean, thunderstorms are obviously needed to cool us down right now and get that front on through here. But at this point, the biggest part we're dealing with is right around the immediate Tulsa area. We can't expand out for other folks, just to give you guys also an idea. It's not just Tulsa that's getting heavy thunderstorms right now, but we do have a lot going on. We've had severe thunderstorms around the area. You see the green, we have flood advisories. They go from southwest Missouri back into southern Ottawa County, southern Craig County, and then that also extends now to the south into Rogers and Mays County, northern Delaware County, back into Tulsa County. And then we have a flash flood watch in the blue area. So this is where flash flooding could occur in the metro area. So if you don't have to drive right now, don't have to get out, don't. And just stay close by and see what's happening. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning warning now that is extended across northern Tulsa County. Now, that'll include the city of Claremore as well. So we have the one that's to the south that includes from Glenpool back through most all of Tulsa and then western Wagner County. We have the one that's up in Osage County, which is kind of on the backside, so a very active cluster of storms right in this zone. So this new warning also goes into central and southern Osage County. So a lot of things happening right in this, pretty much concentrated right around the metro area and the 4 or 5 counties surrounding us. And then it kind of extends back off to the east for you guys from around 412 to the north is the pretty much the zone at this point. Sequoia is in some of that at this hour as well, but the strongest winds now moving through central Tulsa County. And so again, power outages are going to be possible, not nearly as bad. Aaron mentioned this a while ago too. I heard him say this. Not nearly like the Father's Day time period, but still very, very strong winds. And there should be some power outages, unfortunately. I know a lot of folks have no trees left, so they can't blame trees. But we're talking about some strong winds now from around the Sperry area through Turley, through the downtown Tulsa area, and then from downtown through Brookside, and now east of Tulsa Hills. So that's moving very quickly off to the east at this moment. You can see the strong winds. All right, we can go to T3 right now. You going to do that, Stacia? You can do that? Okay. And so we're going to take a look at what's going on. This is a look at what the winds that are blowing right at this moment across the Riverside area on I-44. This gives you a pretty good idea of just how strong our winds are and how it's pushing our camera. And that, to push it this far is saying we have at least 70-mile-an-hour winds, I would say. I don't see this happen very often. Obviously, we're zoomed in right now on the flag, and you're seeing it whipping right in there. But that gives you a really good indication of what's going on. If we can do T5, too, just for a moment here as it's coming on in. So this is what we're dealing with, and this is coming across the city as literally right now and coming. And you'll see how fast some of these clouds are moving because you can literally watch them moving across the screen. That's 70-mile-an-hour winds and potentially stronger winds. So that's why we want you to just be aware that this is a very strong, severe thunderstorm. And so it's kind of on that middle edge of kind of intensities in terms of severity. So it's not just barely. This is an intense, severe thunderstorm. And so we're going to have to deal with some power outages and some issues associated with that. Back to radar to give you a track, and Stacia's been working on that as well. But we're going to just take a look at what's happening from the radar itself. So here's an area near Sperry, kind of real concerning, just north of Sperry, or I should say south of Sperry to Turley. So this is another strong wind damage event potential right in here. So this is also a little couplet area that we don't like to see because there is usually an indication of some really strong winds right in here. So if you're near Sperry and southeast of Sperry and north of Turley, I want you to be aware of what's going on with this because this is a very powerful storm. A lot of lightning in advance of it on this cell that you see here just on the east side of Owasso. This is going to be moving up across areas from Sperry and then Turley area, now moving, getting ready to move across Highway 75. It's now already crossing Lake Yohola area on 75 to give you a perspective. So 60, 70-mile-an-hour winds. Station just put together our storm track along this leading edge. And so winds of 70 miles an hour, possibly stronger. And so some of the locations now to Catoosa at about 1220, Tulsa International Airport area coming in right at 1210, and then the Verdigris area about 1221. Inola, if it continues at this rate, about 1235. So it's moving at a pretty good pace at this particular moment. So with that in mind, here's those strong winds. Again, notice the red indicating our shear is very, very strong on the Brookside area, also up to the north around the Turley area. These are the two areas that we're going to be watching very closely. Winds are strong across the rest of the area, like downtown Tulsa, probably 50-mile-per-hour winds, but the ones that are the worst are right in this little curvature area here, and also where John is located. John's just getting back into the middle of some of that. Hey, John, I know you're busy. Not going to bug you very long. Just give me one quick update on wind estimates as you are crossing across, what is that, 23rd Street, or are you on 44?
I'm on I-44 right now, and we're probably 65-mile-an-hour winds at least, Travis. And the lightning is very intense. The rain is very, very heavy, and you have to have both hands on the wheel, and I'm barely making 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So it's
all right. Yeah.
Trying to get out in front of it, but I don't know that I will be able to.
No, that's fine.
Back here.
Yep. Now that gives us a real good sample. So a lot of you folks that are watching right now already know how strong those winds are. But if you're on the east side, just kind of waking up to what's going on, it's like, what the heck is happening here? So there looks like can't tell if that's a fire issue there or what that was. That looked like a semi. But anyway, that gives you a pretty good idea over on T5. And we'll just take a look from downtown. It's kind of more in a black and white view. It kind of gives us you'll just see how much lightning is going on. Again, lightning indicates tremendous amounts of energy in the atmosphere. And if you were outside just a little bit ago before the storms came in, it's just a sauna. It's hot. It's been nasty, nasty, nasty weather. This is going to help out, but right now it's not. So winds downtown, 50 to 55 miles an hour. This leading edge, though, again, we're looking at some strong winds that could be in excess of 65 miles per hour to near 70. A bit of a couplet right now showing up, and this is not good either. This is just east of the gathering place. So there's some strong damaging wind potential. John's really close to this here as well. So you're going to see this near the Edison area. So we're, again, looking at a bit of a circulation feature that is right along the areas just east of 75 now. So we want you to be aware what's going on right here. And so this is just south of the fairgrounds. So some winds and a very turbulent wind right in here. And that's where where we were trying to look at it on T5 just a moment ago. And it's just a ball of lightning throughout this whole area. But there is a circulation feature right at this point off the surface on live radar. That is going to track right just south of the fairgrounds and near the fairgrounds to Bishop Kelly area. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on here as that's moving right across, right in here. So that is the location. So we're at Harvard, just south of the fairgrounds to about 41st Street to maybe 51st. And so if you're in this area, I want you to be doing your precautions just to be on the safe side. Because this has a little bit of spin to it. And so if nothing else, there could be some chunks of hail that could happen with this and just a little bit as well. This will move rapidly to the east, so that'll be going closer to the Bishop Kelly area and then on up from there from 41st up to about 21st as that's crossing over the Tulsa area. So there are some strong winds right in here that we're looking at. So that's kind of right at that nose you see right in here. So that's moisture and that's a storm pretty much just pulling up and across that area. So that's what we're keeping an eye on. And for you guys in Tulsa, because it's coming through town, very complicated as far as the storm itself. Not terrible, but it's not good. Wind still damaging wind potential, highest just west of Owasso, coming in on Owasso from 75 and pretty much around, really, I'd say about 116th Street. Hopefully my daughter is watching. And so that's moving across an area that is going to be very strong damaging winds. I'd say 70 miles an hour, not out of the realm of possibility. And a little bit of indications of some strong, I would say, turbulence in that area. I wouldn't call it a strong circulation feature, but we are seeing it a bit right in there. This is a notch, and we don't like those because it isn't real tight, but it is indicating that this is a circulation feature right now across this area. And if you can, you got to jump onto Owasso camera real quick. Okay, thanks. And then so we're going to watch this circulation feature in here, and then where John is located, he's still cutting across. But this is a very dangerous storm. And so let's look for hail real quick and see if any of these cores are dropping any chunks of hail at this point. We have had some hail that has been showing up again from around the Sperry area. So some hail could be involved in that up to, I'd say, at least a nickel sized. And then you get some 70-mile-an-hour winds. We have damaging hail potential at this point. So this gives us pretty good idea, Stacia's showing us where the more likely areas of hail have been occurring in the last 5 minutes or so. And here's the newest update. So that'd be downtown Tulsa and then on up to near Turley to Sperry. So we have two areas of concern, one in Midtown, east side of Tulsa, one on the just to the west of Owasso right now. That little bulge in there indicating a very strong cell has gone up and very strong damaging wind potential, 70 miles an hour or so, moving in on Owasso right now, right off of, has moved east of 75, now near 169. So it is making a lot of headway right in that zone. We have the severe thunderstorm warnings. We have as well that little circulation feature still going on now. John is just not too far from that. John, one more quick update from you. What do you have?
Okay, I'm on I-44 right now, coming up on Yale, and the rain is still very torrential. Still a lot of lightning, and the winds are very difficult to steer through, but they seem to be down a little bit from where they were a few minutes ago. So that may be some good news, at least where I am right now. So
okay.
Back Back to you.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it. So once again, though, strong damaging wind potential. You see where John is. Here's where our circulation feature would be some turbulent winds of 60 miles an hour or so, moving right across the Tulsa area from Woodland Hills Mall. Now a little bit further south, about I'd say 81st, 71st on the south side, on up to about 31st to 21st on the north side here. So this is moving right along an area that will be taking it around Broken Arrow and just to the north sides of Broken Arrow. So anywhere from Kenosha and then back to the north. So that's the main part of this storm. So if you're west right now, I would say even if maybe Harvard, you're better than you would be if you're in advance of it. But this area right in here is pretty intense at this point on the north side around that 31st area. And then let's go back to the north a little bit, farther to the Owasso area. And you'll be able to see what's going on here. This is moving in. New cells are developing just east side of Owasso. A lot of lightning with that. And so here's the turbulent area moving across this zone. Shear right in this area should still be running about 60, 70 miles an hour. And there's still a lot of turbulence even back around 75. So this is a very, very windy storm right now. Sequoia is off on the east side of it just a little bit. He's kind of backtracked into Tulsa. Sequoia, quick update from you. What do you have?
Right now, just running into some heavy rain. Fixing to turn back up going towards Owasso. We'll be keeping an eye out for Travis. Also, throwing a lot of lightning strikes. So, and heavy rain, so people need to slow down, take their time.
Yeah.
And back to you.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it. So again, lots and lots of lightning strikes occurring across this zone. So we do want you to be advised. We have our severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. Again, Tulsa County, mainly the east sides of Tulsa County. That includes Broken Arrow, down to Bixby and Glenpool areas. Another severe thunderstorm up around the Fairfax area. This is mainly a wind event in this area. But it is a very potent storm that's coming in with winds that could be about 70 miles an hour. So there's a lot of wind, tremendous amounts of energy. And usually this time of year, we don't have the jet stream to help create big time circulations. But we do get a tremendous amount of energy just blowing these storms up. And then as that happens, we have lots of strong winds and damaging wind. So our one from Fairfax right now extends back down to just west of Cleveland. You can see these green areas. These are indicative of where the strongest winds are located. It's moved through Blackburn, already through the Skidee area, and then also has been going strong here for a little while, I'd say for about the last 25 minutes. Some of you guys have been picking up some strong 60, 70 mile an hour winds. But this is like right at 60 to 70. The ones in Tulsa have been 70. And so that's one there. Our severe thunderstorms at this point. John is along that leading edge. John, I want to get you, you're getting closer to the leading edge. What do you have for us? John, if you're there, can you hear me?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I take it off mute. Right now I'm coming up on the Broken Arrow Expressway interchange, and the lightning seems to have gone down just a little bit, but the rain is just blinding, Travis. Can barely see 30, 40 feet in front of you because of the intense rain that's coming down. And the winds kind of out of the northwest now, not as strong as they were, but still very strong, probably about 50 to 60 miles an hour where I am right now. Back to you.
All right, so still severe thunderstorm going strong there, and so that's the only thing. It's on the air. Or which one is that? What camera do we? That's the Owasso one. Oh, yeah. So Owasso, do you know what direction we're even looking on that?
To the south-westish.
A little bit to the south and west? Wow. It is a wall of water and strong winds, and we do estimate 60, 70 miles an hour continuing right in this area. So we do want you to be very careful and stay away from outside windows and walls. And let's go back on over.
Sequoia's got power flashes.
And, oh, he does. All right, let's go to Sequoia's video real quick, if we could. Sequoia just had, Sequoia, I just saw a few power flashes. Did you have those?
Yes, sir. I had about three, at least three, maybe four power flashes. I can't really even drive. Everybody's kind of stopped right here. The wind and rain is coming down so hard. So there is no electricity
Okay. What's the wind estimate right now?
Wind estimate, at least 75 miles an hour. My truck is
All right.
blowing hard.
Yep.
Another power flash.
Yep, see it right there. All right, you guys, let's go back to radar real quick. Thanks. We'll let you go. Sequoia, when you get a chance, we'll move you east. This is a very strong wind event for Owasso. So you guys right now getting hammered really hard. So this is 75. He just estimated 75-mile-an-hour winds. Looks like it from all indication that we're dealing with a very, very intense wind flow. And Stacia, you got a storm track on that for us?
Yes. Travis, this is the northern part, of course, around Owasso, moving east at about 40 to 45. So we're going to take that leading edge over to Verdigris at 1225. Limestone also about 1225. Claremore, 1235, so about 15 more minutes for you. Justice would be about 1237. Occasionally when we have these really strong winds, Boeing, as you kind of see that little curvature on your radar, that can move a little faster from time to time. So we want you to be ahead of this and kind of bumping our times up a little sooner. Harmony Star would be about 1245. But again, those really strong winds, Owasso, this is going to knock some power out definitely for tonight. And so much electricity, as Aaron had mentioned, a lot of lightning going on with these, but the wind is definitely our biggest issue at this point. So just to the east of 169, from Owasso down to the northeast side of the Tulsa, that is where we find strong winds. And we still continue across the heart of the Tulsa metro, Midtown, and then over into East Tulsa. Winds are not as strong, so that's good, Trav, but still the bright greens are showing up just to the east, southeast of Owasso.
Yep, and we're also, besides Sequoia, the National Weather Service now said also their radar, some estimates are showing up to 80-mile-an-hour winds. So this is going to be a very, very dangerous storm. And it is a dangerous storm, not going to be. It is a very dangerous storm now across the Owasso area. So again, from Owasso to Verdigris, that'll be moving up toward the Claremore area. Stacia was mentioning, not a good situation. This is kind of an evolving storm. And so it went with a circulation pattern. And so now we're looking at having crossed 169 from the Stone Bluff area, and then that is now blasting off to the east. So now Owasso has had winds, most likely 70, 75, estimated up to near 80. That will knock out power to a point where it's, as we all know from what we've already seen in the past in June, we could have some serious power issues as we go through the rest of the night into the early morning hours for some folks. And you can see how fast this is moving. Stacia mentioned as this is getting pushed off to the east very quickly. With that, we'll not only have the power outages, we'll have the chance of having debris in the roadways, branches, some trees damage as well. You can see the turbulence indicators right now in here with the shear indicating now getting off into the red a little bit deeper, which we don't want it up into this color. That's more into our, we'll just basically call it our Father's Day storm. And so that will continue to move to the east. So we are in a position right now where it is headed over pretty much from the Catoosa area and the port of Catoosa, and then that'll be heading on into the Verdigris area here momentarily. So that's just blasting through the area at this point. Sequoia's video continues to be pretty intense with that storm. John is moving off to the east as well, but you get the general idea of what it looks like. So these guys have gotten hammered by it, estimating winds 70 to 75, and National Weather Service estimating maybe now with some of the radar data that we're seeing up to 80, which appears to be accurate. And we have our secondary part of this storm system back in Osage County. So a couple areas really, really intense. John is still behind that. It's going to be hard for our guys to catch up with this, and these are pretty intense warnings. You'll notice how they're smaller than the Osage County one, mainly because it is a very concise area that has such strong winds at this point. And John, if you could just give me an update, what are winds now on the backside of that?
Well, they're still very strong. I'd say at least 60, 65 mile an hour, Travis. The rain is still coming down in just buckets. There is ponding on the roadway. I'm on I-44, especially in the construction zone under 169. It's very, very, very strong right there. Back to you.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. So once again, severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for the area. And now the National Weather Service decided to go with a warning that includes 90-mile-an-hour winds. So that is now getting to a point of a very damaging severe thunderstorm. And so a new warning that has been issued, that was in the outline that you see in here. And so that will be for, basically, it's already pretty much out of the Tulsa County area. It's just pretty much ending from the Owasso area. But this is a damaging wind event, a very significant, severe thunderstorm. We do want you to make sure you protect yourself because these winds, once you get to 70 to 80 miles an hour, and with estimates now, with the radar estimating up to 90 mile an hour winds, at this point, we do want you to be very much careful because now we're getting closer to the type of wind damage that unfortunately we saw that was widespread in Tulsa back in June. So a very similar event to kind of put it in perspective now as this is increased in intensity from Owasso off to the east. So if you are in this area at this point, we do want you to get away from the windows and walls. Also, if you have large trees, this is more of a westerly wind event. If you do have large trees, make sure you try to move to a different part of your home that doesn't have a large tree to your immediate west. And make sure you're in the center of your home, the most supported area, because it can be similar to a tornado, unfortunately. So that's what we're seeing with this enhanced severe thunderstorm. So now it extends from the Limestone area off of 20 and 116, then back down through Verdigris, and winds estimated at about 75 to 80 in this area. And so we do want you to be excessively careful here. We have the other severe thunderstorm as well. Stacia, do you have a storm track on this one? Okay, let's do that first, if you would, please.
Okay, Travis, so this is moving into Verdigris now, and this will continue over to the east at about 50. So Keatonville, that's about 1228, just a couple more minutes. Claremore still tracking for 1235. Tiowa, 1236, along with Justice. And then Harmony Star and the Pryor area would be around 1245, Pryor a little later to about 1253. So again, as Trav mentioned, these are very, very strong winds, and you want to be in the centermost part of your home, away from windows and doors, especially if you are in Verdigris right now as those winds are just out to the west coming into town. Trav?
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. National Weather Service, as Chaser said, estimated winds of 90 to 100 miles an hour southeast of Owasso. So we are in damaging wind territory to the point of where we're going to have significant power outages, significant damage to homes, unfortunately. And so this is concentrated in a fairly, I'll say small area, but it's a big area. From Owasso back down to the south, as Stacia was just pointing out, into Verdigris. Along the leading edge, you can have some spin-up circulation features associated with that. So we want to make sure that you are very much taking precautions because of the damaging wind that is right now in the Verdigris area and extending back down east of Fair Oaks. This is a very, very big type of storm that will be causing a lot of serious issues. That is just rapidly moving to the east now, east of Verdigris. And so we're estimating, is it moving about 45? What do you have?
I picked it up to 45.
45 to 50. And so we expect that to be very quickly advancing across Rogers County. And so if you are in the areas from around Tiowa, Claremore areas, you're going to get nailed by this. And this is not one you want to get hit by, but it's already through Keatonville and extending off to the east. Wind shear with this is estimated, again, to be about 80 miles an hour. And you can see how it's more uniform, compact, especially in an area that runs from just southeast of Owasso. And here's the Port of Catoosa area. And so we're just from the Verdigris area back down to the south. So right along this leading edge, 90 mile an hour winds, significant damage, a lot of power outages, tree damage that's going to be significant again for you guys. Unbelievable that we're having to go through this again. And then we have obviously a severe thunderstorm warning attached to that and an aerial flood advisory for flooding. So there's a lot of things happening besides a ton of lightning with this particular cell. Additional severe thunderstorm now kind of more concentrated on the southern side. Notice how the north side from Highway 60 and Burbank to Pawhuska, not quite as intense. There is a warning for that, but a little closer in, just west of Winona. We'll give you a quick update on this as well. And Stacia, I'll see if you can do a storm track here. This one is moving very rapidly northeast. So from just west of Winona, and then that extends from down to Hominy along 99 and east of Hominy at this point. These winds are expected to be around 60 miles an hour, possibly a little stronger. The worst ones by far around the Verdigris area. But you guys are getting hammered right now as well. So you'll get 50, 60 mile an hour winds, potentially, could be a little stronger because the atmosphere is about the same. It's a little bit more worked over right in here, so we don't think that these cells are quite as intense as the ones that are on the east side of Owasso now. But this is the storm right here, and Stacia has a quick update. What do you have?
Travis, this storm moving east at about 50 miles per hour. This will be tracking, take a look here, into the Skiatook Lake vicinity at 1234, New Prue at 1236, Tall Chief Cove around 1245, along with Woolco and Avant. Skiatook in town at 1249, and then Sperry at about 1253. So again, those strong winds right now in Hominy, headed over to Skiatook Lake, to Avant, then into the town of Skiatook, continuing on to Vera. So this will be crossing through the northern part of Tulsa County and far southern Washington County. Ramona, Vera, Collinsville, these strong winds out near Hominy, that's all headed for you. And then we're also still tracking, again, the very strong winds out near Verdigris, and that's moving over to Claremore, and that will continue through parts of central Rogers County and then off into Mays. This storm is probably not stopping anytime soon tonight, or hopefully it'll weaken, but at this point it's just going to be a doozy as it moves through parts of Rogers County. So from Highway 66 in Verdigris to I-44, strongest winds right now are in Verdigris, and then those are knocking on the door for Claremore on the southwest side of town. And again, Trav mentioned 70, 80, possibly even stronger than that. So this will knock power out. This will cause damage. You'll have tree debris. So please be careful tonight and try to avoid windows and doors and just stay in the centermost part of your house as this storm comes through, because this is some serious, serious wind. And again, right now in Verdigris, you're just going through it. And so we hope you're in the centermost part of your home being safe. Tiowa, Justice, McFarland, this is all headed for you in a few minutes. It is just now moving into the State Highway 88 south of Claremore vicinity. So that's just, again, maybe five more minutes away from you. Harmony Star is also in the path, Highway 20 over to Pryor, and then also Trav over to Shodo.
All right, lots and lots of things happening with this storm. We just talked to Bob Roloff, one of our storm trackers as well in the Owasso area, said tremendous amount of wind still going and blowing, and there has been tree damage in that area, which we would suspect based on what's going on now. So again, about 3 active areas of storms, and you can pretty much pick it out. It's off to the east around the areas of Delaware County. These storms have not, knock on wood, had quite as strong of winds. That extends from Lake Uchi area back down to around the Rose area. We do have aerial flood advisories and flood warnings for several locations. The biggest thing, though, continues to be like the first cluster, not so good. Next cluster is moderate with very heavy rainfall and flooding. And we'd really hope that you don't have to drive here for the next few hours, because middle of the night, not too many people have to do that for jobs or work. We say turn around, don't drown. The worst continues to be right along and from Claremore back to the south and east. And then the next area is located off to the west. Let's go back to our friends that are on the east side of town right now. Again, so many reports of just wild, crazy winds from Broken Arrow. Aaron.
There was a report at the Tulsa International Airport as that came through 64 miles per hour.
64 mile an hour wind in at the Tulsa International Airport. So again, most of our estimates have been, the highest one we've received was the 75 that we picked up from Sequoia, and then of course the 60s, and then some other chaser mentioned 90 to possibly 100. Winds are coming right in at this point, just right onto the National Weather Service radar site. And so John's just coming in behind that near the Gregory area, Gregory Circle. And this will be the leading edge, should be a very, very strong damaging winds of anywhere from 70 to 80 miles an hour. Isolated amounts could be higher, as that one tracker was thinking. So again, from Claremore, just south and west sides of Claremore, back down to this area, our very intense winds continue. And you can see that this is the brighter, lighter green color, most likely showing up on your TV or monitor. And so this is where the strongest winds are at this very moment. That is moving east, though. Remember, this is like a minute or so ago. And so that'll be just east a little bit, especially with it moving at about 45 miles an hour. And that is going to go now Claremore back down, really to Tiowa. I would say if you're in Claremore to Tiowa, you're getting hit either now or just in the next few seconds or minutes, because it is literally just rolling right in on you at this second. And that extends back down the McFarland area. So this is the worst storm by far. Hail has not been a major player in these storms. It is mainly a wind-driven event. But even if you just have dime to nickel-size hail with 70-mile-an-hour winds or 80-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to have a lot of damage, especially on siding and on roofs. So that's one of the things that does not look good. So this is really intense storm as it's moving out of the Tulsa area. For the most part, Tulsa is okay. We have this other strong to severe storm on the northwest sides from Lake Keystone extending back through central Osage County. So that's still very active. So Tulsa's clear, but not really clear because there's still some showers and storms going on. And if you've been south of Tulsa County line, Okmulgee County line, you're like, well, I guess there's some lightning up to the north. We're getting the outflow boundaries from these thunderstorms, which will eventually kill these storms. You can see this boundary right in here that's already through Muskogee and then extending back down to the south. So that's getting pushed south because of this rain-cooled air. I mean, it's great. We're going to cool off. Bad because a lot of people are going to be without power. But I mean, the good thing, I guess, is if we're without power, it's better than having a heat index of 118. But we're hoping we don't have to deal with a whole lot of power outages. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Because, again, it takes a while for that to accumulate. And then the blue areas indicate where we do have aerial flood advisories and flood warnings in green. The yellow indicates severe thunderstorm warnings. So if you're kind of trying to get a perspective from everybody that's kind of getting thunderstorms right now, this gives you a really good idea. Highway 412 to the north, not good. If you're south of 412, not quite as bad. East side of Tulsa, let's take a little closer look on that and see what we have going on again right around Claremore. John's getting a little bit closer just behind it by about 7 to 8 miles, and we'll talk to him in just a second. But now that extends from Claremore back down to McFarland. These are the strongest winds right in here, and this is where we're expecting more of the damaging wind potential. Most likely this is still hanging in there at about 70 miles an hour, maybe 75. Hopefully not any stronger, but it's close, and it's near the radar site, which allows us to have a good sampling near the surface, which indicates that this most likely will continue to be right around 70, maybe 75 miles an hour. And especially this target zone that you see that's just to the southwest of Justice, from Justice, Tiowa area. And so that could be coming up by the school as well. And so if you're right in that area, you're getting hit as we speak with strong damaging winds, and that's not looking good. John is just a hair bit further to the south. John, if you would give us an update behind that line of storms. What are you dealing with right now?
Still very heavy rain and still some very gusty winds. It'll probably come down to about 45 miles an hour, Travis. I'm just entering the construction zone here at the McClellan-Kerr waterway where they're rebuilding the bridge. But you have to really watch these construction zones. A lot of the barrels and cones are all over the roadway from the strong winds. So ODOT will have their work cut out for them tomorrow, getting these all set back up again. The rain is still very heavy, not quite as much as it was a while ago, and the hail has been virtually, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, non-existent. So that's some good news there, at least, for roofs. Back to you.
All right. Hey, John, thank you so much. Getting some reports even from our Facebook pages. It's just crazy and vertigerous with the winds. Also, electric is out in western Claremore. And let's go to Stacia and see if we can get an update from Stacia. What do you have?
Unfortunately, those power outage reports are coming in now, and we have our map here that updates as quick as it can, but it sometimes is a little lagging, about 15, 30 minutes. We have reports from Aaron up in Skiatook that they are without power, and then also, as Trav mentioned, west of Claremore. Tulsa County, the count right now is 600 customers, but that could, of course, go up. 1,000 customers in Osage County, about 200 in Rogers, and then up in Craig County, there's about 100 customers, and I think Trav will see these numbers go up as the winds continue to push across the state.
All right. And I was just trying to get a few more reports from some of the folks besides our storm trackers. And again, just in that right along that leading edge, it looks like almost everybody's saying, oh my gosh, these winds are crazy. That seems to be the common theme right now. So we do have those little moments of circulation. A lot of that has to do more with the turbulence and the dynamics of a thunderstorm. And this time of year, fortunately, we usually don't have tornadoes, but you can have tornadoes. And so that's why we're just going to keep watching this, because there's an isolated risk of that as they continue to move to the east. This leading edge, though, still showing up, and Stacia's got us a storm track, maybe out to Salina 104. We are sitting right now at 1238, coming up on 1239 in just a moment. Wind potential and wind damage continues to be probably one of the biggest things, along with the immense amount of lightning strikes. It's like, wow. And so our active warnings are primarily across the east, northeast sides of Tulsa. We do have a band of rain coming up across northern Creek County, not severe for you guys. The only severe storm that really looks pretty intense, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning up for you guys at Pawhuska. And that would probably be for 50, 60 mile an hour winds. You have to have 58 mile an hour winds to be severe. But anyway, the worst, you can kind of see just even from this, looking at it yourself, you can just see a solid line coming across central Osage County, now east of Highway 99. And so that's going to continue to move over Skytook Lake here in just a little bit. So if you do have some friends there, lots and lots of stuff going on there. John is, you can see where Sequoia is located up to the north and north. He's going to be moving to the east here in just a minute. And then you can see where John is located. And so he's just getting close to that leading edge. So this is the area we're concerned with. Again, it's already moved through the Inola area. And so it's going down around the Keith region, or Keith area, but from Choteau, just west of Choteau, about 4 miles to 5 miles, you can see that leading edge moving. Each time we're updating this about 2 miles, so it's moving about 45 to 50 miles an hour to the east. And so we do anticipate, even just based on the winds alone, even if it wasn't severe, you'd probably have a 50 mile an hour wind. And so you couple that with also the trajectory of some of the downburst winds that are happening in some of this and outflow from these thunderstorms, and you're going to get winds of 60, 70, maybe 80 miles an hour with that. And isolated to ones could be higher. Still targeting an area from Tioga Justice. So Tioga has been hit with heavy rains, thunder, lightning, torrential rainfall with this as it's coming through. So it is a mess at this moment for this area. And then this is continuing to track off to the east. Our warnings extend right now just barely into Mays County, but the way this is going, it most likely will be, well, it is expanded. I didn't see the extension that has now been given across this whole area. So we are covering Mays, Rogers, Wagner County as this whole line of storms now moves and has really developed even more so further south with more of a solid line all the way down to Porter. So this is pretty impressive what we're seeing at this moment. Just to the east side of Tulsa. So if you're in Wagner County, you're going to get hammered with heavy rains, potential for 60, 65, 70 mile an hour winds. If you're a little bit further north, especially in the Rogers and Mays County, and far eastern Rogers County now, because it's crossing into Mays County, those are the areas. Let's go along that leading edge from Claremore and then work our way back down to the south, and we're going to take a closer look. So this is kind of the couplet area up to the north, and this is just not too far. You can see here's the Tioga area and Harmony Star. So this is where it's coming in, lots and lots of lightning, as we said, heavy rains. And then the strong winds are right along this leading edge. And then that extends back to the south and east. You can see how far that extends now and how rapidly that's moving. I got all the way there. And you can see, we'll come in a little bit closer even if you could. There you go. And that leading edge of the red is where the strongest winds it'll just slam into you really, really fast. And so you'll probably pick up, you'll go from nothing and probably can't breathe because it's sticky. And maybe we've had outflow here, so temperatures are probably around 80 to 85. But it's still going to be sticky. And then all of a sudden you're going to get hit with these thunderstorms and temperatures get dropped big time. But you can see it now moving in on Choteau, and that will continue as we look further to the south along that leading edge. Once again, we're looking pretty much right along that red area. And so it's a little different than the thunderstorms themselves because this flow is right near and right along the area. You can see how that's just advanced by about 2 to 3 miles from where the radar indicates where the thunderstorm is located. So the flow of winds are right in that zone. And so that goes around the Maisie area, and then that is moving on to the south. It's still a pretty solid line, and you're looking at it as it moves down around the Neosho area. And then it should be coming up on Rocky Point before too long. And then we're going on south a little bit further, and then you're getting down to the Wagner area. And so here's the Wagner area. And so that leading edge, not quite as intense in the central and southern portion of Washington or of Wagner County. But the problem is that you're still going to get 50, 60 mile an hour wind potential, and you still have a chance of losing power. Worst of the power grid continues to look to be to the north. Stations put it into motion for us, so you can see how that has expanded to the east very rapidly. The worst, again, mainly across now western Mays County, extending back on down through central Wagner County. So you got the idea of what's happening with that. And then you also get the lightning strikes with heavy rainfall, and then you run into the flooding potential. We haven't had a flood advisory issued for the storms to the south because we haven't had rain and are not training in the same area. And it's just one big thunderstorm at this point, and it's moving at a pretty good clip. So that's the biggest issue we have here. Stacia, have you put together a storm track for us? Haven't? All right, let's see what's going on.
All right, we're going to track that entire leading edge again of strong winds. And so this is moving to the east at about 50 miles per hour. This is going to put it in the Rocky Point, Wagner, Choteau right now. But for Rocky Point and Wagner, that's going to be about 12:50. So just a few more minutes, crossing over Fort Gibson Lake, also heading over to Gideon and Peggs, Murphy, Iron Post, Locust Grove. So southern Mays County, northeastern Wagner County, northern Cherokee County going to get hit pretty hard with these winds coming in. Again, these winds doing damage. We've already had a few pictures coming in of wind damage up around the Owasso vicinity. Power outage reports are pouring into us now. And so this is a storm that is still going to do damage as it tracks through southern Mays, northeastern Wagner, northern Cherokee counties, and even southern Delaware, southern Adair County potentially as it continues to the east. And the vector on this is east at about 50 miles per hour. So that's what we're looking at. Again, those strong damaging winds, a lot of lightning. But again, the winds is what really could do some damage for us tonight, Trav.
All right, thanks. And we continue to look at what's going on. So much lightning, so much rain. Can't even really see if there's trees down. We have electric out, and so a lot of places continue to say that. Quita getting hit hard. So a lot of folks are helping us out. So that's kind of cool, along with our storm trackers. But the problem is that we are getting some reports now coming in out of Owasso of limbs down and large limbs down. So that will also add to the aggravation of what's going on. The other line of storms and some of the power, this is a power grid, and we were just looking at things. So again, about 200 customers. That isn't just people. That's like homes. So about 600 now in Tulsa.
Well, we're actually up to, this hasn't updated.
That hasn't updated?
No,
okay.
PSO is at now 5,300
okay.
customers.
So that
in Tulsa
just
County.
jumped, and we thought that would. So PSO, was that in Tulsa County, 5,300?
Yeah, that's Tulsa County.
Just Tulsa County? Yep. Okay. So we anticipated quite a bit of power outages are going to get jumped up real quick. So these are the areas of thunderstorms. Again, the one that's the farthest to the east, not as powerful. And you can pretty much tell there's just... it's not as red, and red indicates intensity and how powerful. So fortunately, we don't have to deal with that storm as well. But you can see the two meaty ones, the red ones, are the ones that are causing the most problems. And obviously, this one is just a terrible pain. John, let's zoom in on where John is located right now. The ones to the north, I was just mentioning up around Nevada, not a big deal. John's not too far from around the Inola area, and lots of lightning, it looks like. John, would you give us an update from your location right now?
Right now I'm in Inola, and again, still getting a lot of rain. The wind very strong out of the northwest, probably about 45 to 50 miles an hour right now, Travis. The lightning very intense, and it is a mixture of cloud to ground and just the sheet lightning that I'm seeing out here right now. Back to you.
All right. Wow. Yeah, just look at that picture. It looks almost like snow blowing across the road. And this is well behind that initial line of severe weather. So that is gives you an indication of just how powerful this storm is, how much wind is associated with this storm. So you see where John is on 412. Thanks, John. We appreciate that report. And so this line has now extended itself all the way to Choteau. Here's the strongest wind areas. And so you can see also back to the west that now the strong winds extend from, with the severe thunderstorm warning has been dropped around the Bartlesville area. I shouldn't say Bartlesville, but Pawhuska area. So the strongest winds have been south of Pawhuska around the Winona area at 59. And so these are winds, maximum wind gusts right now. A lot of wind blowing across the area. Even in areas to the north, outside of the bigger thunderstorms, there's like 25 mile an hour. And then as you look on a little bit further to the south and west, the winds get stronger. And so that's why this is still a very potent storm that's coming in on the west-northwest sides of Tulsa. We'll take the rain. I'm not going to complain about that. Too bad it comes with a price on this one. Shower and thunderstorms, so just knocking on the door in Sapulpa at this hour. Again, strongest winds, though, continue to be a little bit further to the north and across, now moving into northern Tulsa County. So Skytook once again. And a lot of folks without power. And if you're just streaming with us, here's this next storm system already in town. So you're going to get some more 50, 60 mile an hour winds potentially with this. And so you can see this already over the lake in Tall Chief Cove here, Morgan's Corner. And so that gives you a pretty good estimate. The whole lake is covered now with strong wind and damaging winds at that. So hopefully boats are secure and everybody has been safe and everybody went home early and didn't have to worry about these storms. Right now, though, in Skytook, as we said, power outages are showing up in Skytook. and this leading edge. Now along Highway 11, going from Barnsdall to Avant, back down to the Skytook area, moving into Tulsa County, and that's, you can see Skytook is kind of divided into Osage and Tulsa County. And so that's blowing on into Tulsa County as we speak down to around the Sperry area. So this is the next big storm coming through. 50, 60 mile an hour winds likely with this. Some gusts could exceed that. Heavy rain associated with that. And you see the, again, leading edge of that squall showing up just around the Highway 11 area. And going from Pershing to Barnsdall, back down to Avant to Skytook, and then just west of Sperry. So that gives you a good look at that. Stacia's been looking at storm tracks on this particular cell as well. Stacia, what do you have for us?
Trav, we're going to take that leading edge and we're going to move it east at 50. So we're going to take it from Skytook and Sperry over towards the Owasso vicinity once again. So Owasso, kind of a double whammy tonight. 12:57 for Owasso, Tulsa International, right about the same time. Now a little sooner is going to be the Vera vicinity at 12:55. Booker T, if you're around Booker T, Washington, that's at 12:53, and we're sitting at 12:50. So this is just a few more minutes. And again, those strong winds in Skytook, in Sperry, and then tracking to the east. And so this will be over towards Highway 75 soon. Latest radar scan has just outrun my track. And so that's how fast these storms are moving. So again, that leading edge is over right now towards Highway 75, or at least hitting it in the next minute or so. Then it's going to be moving back towards Collinsville and Owasso. The strongest winds, just based on radar analysis, right over Sperry, and then maybe back up towards Tall Chief Cove. So again, that's a lot of wind, and that also would cause more power outages and more damage. So folks in Skytook already without power. Now the wind's coming through, that could knock out the rest of the power. So again, we are concerned about power outages and damage tonight. We're tracking the storm leaving Osage County, southwestern Osage or southeastern Osage County, getting into northern Tulsa County. Then we're also watching the storm with all that lightning concentrated, Trav, in far eastern Rogers County, far western Mays County. That's a lot of lightning there.
Oh my goodness.
Small area.
Yeah. Hello, summer. And summer is just notorious for these crazy lightning storms. And of course, ranchers don't like them at all. People don't like them because they can hit houses. Normally, lightning strikes. Can you put up positive, negative charges and see if you can see if that's possible? Because I'm kind of throwing you for a loop right now. But with these two cells, we do have the severe thunderstorm warning, as you can see, till 1 a.m. That is for Tulsa County. We have a new aerial flood warning as well. And there we go. And just wanted to point this out. It's kind of interesting. Here's the total strikes. Here's the positive strikes, the negative strikes, and gives you the percentages. So this is ongoing computation of what's happening in real time. And normally you'll get positive strikes about 10% of the time. And positive strikes are considered hot lightning. Those have a higher potential of causing fires. So we are kind of in a higher, worse environment basically with lightning tonight because we have such a high positive rate at this point for as many lightning strikes as there are. That is a lot of positive lightning strikes in the last few minutes. So just be advised that, again, we have to be careful with these lightning strikes anyway, because lightning is so doggone dangerous and so many things can happen. So we have to be so much aware of what's going on. As we say, don't be tall, get small is the key phrase we like to use, and you just don't want to be around it. And unfortunately, you don't have any choice. Summer thunderstorms are just so powerful. So right now, this a big thunderstorm warning area, which includes now, as we said, Wagner County, northwestern Cherokee County, which nothing's going on in northwestern Cherokee County now. That will change. Eastern half of Mays County. Nothing going on right now, but that will change. And then the outflow boundary now has pushed all the way down to Lake Tenkiller and down around the Shakota area. So these thunderstorms with time are going to die down because the outflow is pushing so far away from the main part of the storms, but these are still extremely potent. And again, some of that has to do with just the amount of energy tapping into it this summer because of a system coming through, the front coming through, and the amount of warm, moist air that's above us, making it extremely unstable. And that's why we have the warnings and the flood warnings. I wanted to point out the flood warning. We also got an update on that just in the last few moments. They're extending the flash flood warning till 2:30 a.m., and that is going to be for Southern Craig, Central Delaware, Mays, Southeastern Osage, Rogers, the Northern Tulsa County, not Southern, just Northern Tulsa County, and Southern Washington County will be involved in that. And rainfall amounts of 2 inches or so, an additional 1 to 2 inches are possible in some of these areas. We'll look at rainfall in a little bit, but this gives you a pretty good idea of the bigger picture of what's going on with this line of storms. So again, back to the leading edge with the strongest winds. We have the two sides that have the strongest. On the east side of town, now running to near Pryor to Choteau. This is where the winds are at the maximum. You do see just west of Sportsman Acres near the Lusta area, strong damaging winds. And then these winds should be about 60 to 70 miles an hour. And shear on this continues to be very strong right along the leading edge of that. And so that's what we're seeing at this moment. And so it's already moved through the Choteau area. But even back behind the leading edge of this, where we get this 50, 60 mile an hour winds, you still have a tremendous amount of turbulence going back 15 to 25 miles. So you're going to have those strong winds, gusting winds for 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. So that's kind of unusual. Usually you get that blast and cool air and big strong winds, and it's kind of like dies down pretty quick. Not this go around. Hail cores, again, very limited, but anything a little bit is involved in that. So pea size to nickel size would be possible in maybe the bigger places or bigger cells. But that's what we're seeing right now as that continues to move to the east. Lightning strikes, that's just, you can't even say enough about that. Already through Pryor and then down to Sportsman's Acres, and then now pushing off to the east to Cedar Crest, and then that's all the way down to Fort Gibson Lake. Stacia's doing a storm track on that and has the latest on that. What do you have, Stacia?
Well, Travis, these thunderstorms, they're moving a little faster, especially where you have those winds kind of bowing out on radar. You have the little curvature. So that's moving a little faster, and that's getting in towards, it's right on top of Cedar Crest now, but headed over to Peggs and Gideon, and then to Lowry, to Scraper, and north of Tahlequah. So we're going to put a track on this for you because as we watch these thunderstorms move through, again, it's knocking power out, it's doing damage. So the strongest winds are near Choteau and just to the southeast of town now. So we'll take that part of the thunderstorm and move it to the east at about 50. And so this is going to take it through northern parts of Cherokee County, Peggs, Gideon, and then over into northwestern Adair County around Chewy. That would be in less than half an hour. Rose would be about 104, Gideon shortly after 1 at 105, Oaks about 114, Little Kansas at about 117. So again, tracking still some very strong wind potential. We've been watching power outage numbers continue to rise from these thunderstorms. Also, we've been watching some of those wind reports come in, a lot of 50s and 60s from some of the mesonet sites around, and we've also had sporadic damage reports. But the power outage numbers in Tulsa County, we've had over now 5,000 customers. We mentioned that earlier. It's up to about 5,800 now. A lot showing up in Rogers County. In fact, Verdigris Valley, they have about 2,600 customers, several hundred for PSO. So again, as these storms come through, power is getting knocked out, and we also are dealing with some tree damage. Hopefully it's not large tree limbs, but these are the kind of winds that can definitely do some damage. So we're also monitoring the storms that have moved through the Skiatook and Sperry area. Now, Trav, it's coming back into Owasso. So Owasso's picking up some strong winds once again.
Yeah, and they're going to have to continue the Tulsa County, northern Tulsa County warnings. So we're going to keep that going for a while longer. And so thanks, Stacia. Appreciate that. Officially, the National Weather Service does have a severe thunderstorm warning in Rogers County, and then southeastern Osage and southern Washington, southwestern Nowata, and then northern Tulsa County. And that's going, as we said, until 1:30 this morning for a strong to severe thunderstorm. That continues in that area. Do we have rainfall amounts also in there? We have wind, this next batch of wind coming in right on just west of Owasso. Not as strong as the last one was, but still gives you an idea. And here's a look. We do have some flood colors. We might take the warnings off of some of those. I think that might help if we can... if you can drop them off. Yep, there you go. And so you can see the amounts of rainfall. And so you can pretty much see without even giving a query on what's going on this, but it is going to be tons. This is the mesonet? Okay. So these are mesonet sites that we have. And what's weird is that some of the mesonet sites obviously aren't where we'd like to move them just for that particular storm, because you can't move. But it'd be nice to be able to get some other samples. But radar indicates how heavy some of this rainfall has been in some of these areas. So you get on the north side around the Skiatook area, we're at 2.3 inches of rain. You get on the south side of town, there's nothing. So this is, and a lot of our models, Aaron was doing the forecast, and I talked to him while I was driving back from Nebraska. He was saying, yeah, we're going to be, these storms are going to be pretty nasty tonight. They're going to be big, heavy producers, but they don't really go too far south. And so that's what we're kind of seeing right now. They've trained over the same areas. So we've had some flooding issues, and so that magenta color will indicate 3 to 5 inches of rain potentially in these areas. So a lot of rain gauges are filling up and flooding out, and that's why we have what you see, the blue for the aerial flood warnings. That gives you a really good idea of just how dangerous it is. So we're at 4.5 inches of rain around the J area, and that's, again, wow, that's a lot of water. Turn around, don't drown. If you have to drive, be very aware that you're driving on a road and you're not just going to be driving someplace where the culvert washed out. That's probably one of the worst things at night. You have no depth perception whatsoever, and during the daytime, you can't even hardly tell what's going on. So at night, it's even worse, and that's why we just don't want to have anybody have any problems tonight. Water goes down after 2, 3, 4 hours, and then things improve. Right now, though, we're getting heavy rain, thunderstorm activity across the Tulsa area. And that extends through northern Creek County. So this is an active severe thunderstorm. Still strong winds with this. This is the one that was out in Pawnee in western Osage County about an hour ago. That is still moving to the east, and you can see with just so many lines, but that's all the warnings that are active at this point. So it gives you a pretty good indication of what's happening with all these thunderstorms that are here. And we're kind of in a break right now around the Catoosa area. And then Tulsa International about ready to get hammered again with strong damaging winds. So this is the strongest winds are just pushing around the Tulsa area and back to the north. And so there's a little area from Midtown Tulsa where we have rain. Lightning isn't nearly as intense with this line as the first line. And so it is weakening a hair bit, but you still have very intense rainfall and still a lot of cloud to ground lightning strikes. This number was much higher with the last group of storms that came through. But this is now around the Lake Eola area and now just west of Collinsville. Strongest winds are in advance of the heavy rain. So you get the little blast of another blast of wind. Again, this isn't like the last one going through the Owasso area. So winds that were estimated around 75 by our storm trackers to 80. Those are going to be more in the area about 50, maybe 55. But it's still a warned storm. So just be advised that this is still a pretty intense situation. John is checking back into this line of storms as well. A little bit further back to the east on the other storm line, we continue to have heavy rain, thunderstorm activity, but this one seems to be weakening a little bit other than the lightning. We still have strong winds associated with it and just copious amounts of rainfall. It's now over the Salina area and just moving. Again, that curvature now has moved it into northwestern Cherokee County. So this is an area that's already had some thunderstorms, and so that's kind of helping take the throttle down a little bit, or gas pedal down a little bit, so we don't have to worry as much energy to tap into. So that's nice, because this storm has been nasty here for the last hour. And as that continues to move off to the east, hopefully it will continue to weaken. There's still some strong winds along that leading edge, and so any place from the Salina area extending back through central Cherokee County, around pretty much along the Illinois River area. That's where we're going to be starting to find some of those stronger winds. Extending from Locust Grove now, and as you look, that goes down to around the Iron Post area. Again, the red indicates the strongest winds are probably 50, 60 miles an hour. So I do think the winds have come down a little bit. We're getting a little bit further away from our radar, which means the data isn't as good because it's not really right at the surface, but it does help us give a pretty good indication of how strong the winds are. Now down to around the Pegs area, and then that extends back further to the south. And you see around Gideon, and now also, it's already been through the Lost City area, but you guys are experiencing strong winds, and I'm sure some power outages. Don't forget, we're streaming live, so you can get that on our website. The only time you really can't do that is if a cell tower goes out. That's the only thing that we've heard people say, well, our cell tower lost power. And most of the cell towers, though, have a lot of redundancy built into them so that they're usually pretty good, which helps, especially when you're trying to get communications going. But this is coming in on Tahlequah, and we do have that active severe thunderstorm warning. You can see all the lightning really picks up around Fort Gibson Lake and then really gets going as you go on up to west of Hudson Lake, and then extending back on to the west of Adair. So it is very active at this time. Strongest winds seem to be around the Locust Grove area indicated by radar. Stacia's been working on storm tracks as well. Stacia, what do you have?
Travel continue to track this through Cherokee County into Adair County, southern Delaware, and right now the strongest winds are along Highway 412 near Locust Grove. So here's our latest track. Take a look. This will put it in Leech at about 11 or 111. This will put it also around Tahlequah. Now the strongest winds are up to the north, kind of the northern side of this around Locust Grove, but Tahlequah is still going to get hit with some pretty strong winds, maybe about 50 to 60 tops. But again, the stronger readings, those are going to come up to the north around Locust Grove, headed over to Rose and headed over to Leech. Flint Creek would be about 120, Little Kansas at about 118, Flint 122, and Cloud Creek at 123. If I give you a slightly wider view here, you can see how it'll track through, again, the northern half of Cherokee County, Tahlequah being on the southern edge of the strongest winds. And then it will continue into Adair County, Chewy, Chance, Going Snake, Christie, all in the path of this storm. But again, the strongest winds are up near Locust Grove from 412 back over to Rose and to Leech. Now, as Trav also said, that we're hopefully seeing this slow weakening trend as the storm does move into, again, northeastern Cherokee and Adair vicinity, but it still packs a lot of wind. And so that's something that we have to be cautious of, along with all of the lightning and heavy rainfall. But still, the wind is our primary concern, as it can knock your power out. It can do damage. We have damage reports coming in. Of course, the power out, if it powers out and you're streaming us, let us know. We are monitoring all of the comments coming in and let us know what's happening at your home, but do it safely, of course. Again, this will track through northeastern Cherokee County, northern Adair County, southern Delaware, Colcord in about half an hour, Watson half an hour, Salem Springs also travel in about half an hour.
All right. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that. I was just talking to Aaron, and we were just kind of getting excited a little bit for Skytook Lake. 8,000 cubic feet per second of water starting to flow into that, and it should, because it's been raining there like a monsoon for the last, 5 hours? It's like it has just rained and rained. Hey, can we put that in loop for the last 6 hours? And want to just show the storms are down a little bit in terms of real bad intensity. They're still severe, so we're not changing anything on our thought processing. We still have severe thunderstorm in Tulsa County, in northern Tulsa County. But we'll take a look at how these storms just kind of started firing up about 9:30. And then it's just watch how this kind of same zone just kind of got hit with this. We'll do this one more time. And you just saw a few cells. They were really kind of started back building from out of southwest Missouri. And then a wave of energy coming in from out western Oklahoma. And so that is enhanced rain and thunderstorms that kind of look like, well, there's nothing really going on. Then all of a sudden it's really flaring up to the north. So if you're in southern Kansas, that could help Beulah and Copan as well. So this is kind of the broader view, that really warm, moist air getting shoved further south, though. And so this will be the last of the really nasty parts of the storms that we're watching. And so it's a big line of rain and thunder. For those of you that are kind of in advance of it, you're going to get hit. We'll take a look at both storms. We'll start with the one that's near Rose at this point, along 412. So this is the leading edge of some of the strongest winds. And so there's right now from 412 near the Rose area, extending back into Cherokee County. And this is going to continue back to from Cherokee County, extending back down further to the south. We're going to be dealing with winds of probably about 50, 65 miles an hour. So these are strong. These are off the surface a little bit, but it gives us a pretty good idea into Cherokee County what we're dealing with. And Peggs is already getting nailed with heavy rain and thunderstorm activity. And then down to the south, the winds are strong. Probably still some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, I'd say, with some of these. And then beside that, we still have quite a few lightning strikes. I know my head's in the way of a lot of these lightning strikes. And after I mentioned positive and negative strikes, then you're seeing my head instead of seeing the data, if you like it. There, yeah, Stacia, we'll make people happy. There you go. So if you kind of say, yeah, he talks about it, and he has a big fat head in the way. But anyway, we're talking about the strongest storms will continue to move to the east. Now, this is part of the warned storm in Cherokee County. And so 60-mile-an-hour winds should be pretty much an easy thing to attain, unfortunately. But we're looking for stronger winds, probably closer to where it's been the strongest. And that's going to be right along the county line. So into northern Cherokee County, then far southeastern portions of Mays County, and just getting ready to move into southwestern Delaware County near the Rose area. Otherwise, we just have gusty winds, and some gusts could get 50, 60 miles an hour. through Cherokee County. Most of the lightning strikes are still the heaviest out just west, but it's rain. And again, in August, rain is kind of nice to have unless you get overkill sometimes. And so here's the rainfall amounts stations put together for us and some of the statistics from radar indications for the last 6 hours. And so here's Tulsa County right in here. And then as well, you see southeastern Osage County. And so this is why we were talking about Skytook Lake, is like this was over the lake. So the lake alone could rise 5 inches just based on the rainfall without it even starting to run off and running into the lake, because Skytook Lake is kind of like right in here. In fact, it'd been kind of nice if this was a little bit further back northwest, just a little bit, but we're not going to complain. We're okay. And then you see off to the east, though, this is where it gets very dangerous. In fact, 5 inches is nothing to joke about either, because it's still low water crossings are not going to be crossable, and that means that flooding and in the middle of the night, these are the dangerous things. I know I just mentioned a little bit ago, but turn around. Don't drown. We don't need any statistics because I've been around too many times. I've seen that happen where somebody's tried to get through that water, thought it was just, well, I can make it. And I don't know. I'm scared. I'm going to go ahead and try to get home. And people try to get home instead of just stopping and thinking, where's high ground? Where can I wait for an hour or so until that drops off? So this is, again, the latest on the warnings, what's happening. This is the overall view of lightning strikes across northeastern Oklahoma, southeast Kansas, starting to get some rain and thunder. Nothing severe. You guys won't pick up anything really severe up here, I don't think, because this is pretty done as far as the atmosphere. You're getting just enough lift to create generalized rain and thunder and lightning, which nobody will complain up here because we've had some, but we could have used more. We could have used a lot more. So we're seeing that right now. But these thunderstorms coming across areas. Sequoia's along the leading edge of this last bunch. So let's take a look, see what he has going on. He's near Oologah right now. Let's take a look at his video, see what he has for us at this point. So just rain coming into town. Hey, Sequoia, why don't you give us a quick update on what you have? It looks like just moderate lightning, nothing like the last storm, right?
Not even close right now. Winds are starting to pick up.
What do you have for winds, speaking of which?
Right now they're about around 30.
Okay.
35-ish. And I think they're going to be increasing as it comes along, and if it does, we'll let you know.
Yep.
Back to you, Travis.
All right, thanks. Yeah, we're watching that coming in right on you at this point, so we'll keep an eye on what's happening there around the Oologah area. That's the leading edge, and station's giving us the base velocities from the radar, but this gives us a really good picture from Oshaleta back down to Oologah, and this doesn't look anything like our last one. We're happy about that. Still, though, it's like just right on the marginal severe, but it's strong enough to be severe. And some wind gusts right now could be exceeding 58 miles an hour. And this, again, the north side, anything on the south side just hasn't materialized, so it's had a hard time pushing south. We're getting a little bit of rain in southern Tulsa County, and that is about it. Otherwise, the severity of the storms have remained on the north and northeast sides. And then our severe storm that continues to show up across areas of southern Rogers County, or I should say really southwestern portions of Rogers County, and then mainly Mays County now, because this severe thunderstorm is overlapping with that storm, so there's not much going on at this particular second southeastern Rogers County, but it's going to get active for you guys again. Strongest line of thunderstorms now going from just west of Lake Uchi, then down through Rose to west of Leech, then that extends back down around the Gideon area and just northwest of Tahlequah. And then on the south side, you see how it breaks down very quickly outside of that warning area. It just goes to a couple of individual cells, and so there isn't as much. Off to the east, we are getting a lot of lightning and thunder and heavy rain, Adair County, eastern Adair County, into northwest Arkansas, where we've had an active severe thunderstorm or active thunderstorm with flooding rain. Now we have a brand new, this is a new polygon right in here that takes the leading edge of this thunderstorm. And so it's kind of weird because there's so many things going on. But this other storm and the thunderstorm warning associated with Cherokee County will be expiring here shortly. That'll allow for this line all the way over to here to be an active severe thunderstorm that'll take this all the way off to the east. And then our severe thunderstorm that's on the northern Tulsa County area also back into Rogers County. So you can see how it's kind of overlapping a little bit, and then you can throw in the flood warnings, a lot of stuff going on. And we'd say whatever it takes to get it cooler after what we've gone through, but this is kind of getting carried away, and people without power don't think that's the case. They would rather have the power than have to deal with this stuff. Can we get a power grid update map and see what you think on that, Stacia? What's the latest there? But this is the latest on the rain, and here's what we have. What do you see there?
So we continue to watch the numbers, and they've caught up now. So 6,000 customers in Tulsa County without power. That number really hasn't changed in the last about 30 minutes. And then folks in Rogers County, that's come up to 4,000. So that's quite a few folks there without power. And then storms continuing. Open Osage, about 1,000 customers. Craig County, still about 100. And then Creek County also has a few. And that is totaling up, not as many as Tulsa County, but about 900. So there are power outages, and reports come in just pouring into us tonight. We've also had reports of tree damage, and that's one of the concerns, of course, as these strong winds come through with 60, 70 mile per hour potential, that we have tree damage, and some folks that their trash is sitting out. So trash cans are going to be down the street at your neighbor's house if these storms came through your area, and tomorrow is trash day. I know that's the situation at our house. And so there's a lot of lightning, there's power outages, plus there's the potential of wind damage, along with very heavy rainfall and flooding issues. And so, as Trav mentioned, it's a lot for tonight, but we're still tracking 2 areas of severe storms, hoping that this weakening trend will gradually continue. But there's some good rain falling up in southeast Kansas, and then back even into northwestern Osage County and Chautauqua County, Kansas, where drought conditions are still very bad. So at least there's some good rain falling there. But unfortunately, we still have to track the damaging wind potential that's back into Rogers County now, central Rogers County. So Claremore, the winds have picked up again. The winds are not as strong as that first storm that came through, as Trav mentioned, so that's good, but you are still getting some stronger winds in town, and that could add stress once again to the trees. This will be moving into Sequoia, to Tiowa, back towards Harmony Star. Strong winds and very heavy rainfall in Oologah, where Sequoia is. That will be over towards Bushy Head and Foyle within about the next 10 minutes. Trav.
All right. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Speaking of Sequoia, let's go to his video if we could. Again, he's up around the Oologah area, and the winds are, it just kind of seems like, in fact, Sequoia, what are your winds right now?
Right now, it picked up to about almost 50 miles an hour, Travis.
Okay. All right. That's what I was wondering. It looked like it had a little bit. Again, heavy rain, thunderstorm activity still in this area, and so near 50. We are warned for up to 70 mile an hour wind gust potential. And so we're still going to be keeping an eye on that. But power outages are kind of hit and miss for different folks. We've had some power outages along Riverside as well. Some power came on, some power went back off. Right now, the last of the big thunderstorms moving off to the east, the community of Sequoia. And then here's the storm tracker Sequoia. So again, and then we could go to the county Sequoia, I guess. But we're not going to right now. But we do have just, he's moving east out of Oologah. So the leading edge is just to the east of Sequoia. And you see just east of 88 as it extends just to the north of Claremore. And then to where the town of Sequoia is located. And then that extends back down to around Tiowa. So this is the second part of that storm. Doesn't look nearly as intense as it did before. Still, though, strong gusty winds. Bob Roloff, storm tracker in Owasso, just reporting, he said, as this storm system's come through, he said a lot of trees are creaking. He said it's bent over some trees again. He said, so it's still touch and go with that. So that has moved on through the Owasso area. But he said as this line moved through, he said it was pretty hairy again because they were pretty strong winds. So these have been very active. This one is going to be moving further north and east, and it's kind of on the tail heels of the one that caused the most problems down in Tulsa County and across portions of Rogers County. But this one's still going strong. We have a little indentation just west of Little, Kansas. We're going to take a look at that because it's along that leading edge. It's still one of those things that you have to be aware of. We have the rain and thunderstorms in advance of it, and we don't have a lot of inflow into this, but circulation features can happen very quickly right in here. And so that's what we're seeing in here now. So there's a lot of turbulence right in this one location. So here's Leech, Twin Oaks, and Little Kansas right along Highway 412. So just south and west of Twin Oaks, really basically over Twin Oaks now and down to Oaks. You guys are getting probably the strongest winds, I'd say, and should have probably 60, 70 mile an hour winds with this. Very turbulent right in here as well, because there is a little bit of rotation going on right in this location. So that usually will enhance the wind speeds a little bit more. Doesn't look too impressive on our shear rate at this point. That's good, but I wouldn't be surprised if you weren't getting some twisting, kind of the winds getting gusty, and then they'll kind of die down a little bit to about 30 or 40 and then gust back up to 50 or so. So these are just little eddies that we have to watch for as this line as the thunderstorms move east. A lot of lightning associated with that. This is a very small area, and notice how the positive strikes have really dropped down here compared to the negative strikes. Again, about positive strikes are about 10%, and negative strikes are usually about 90%. So that gives you a pretty good idea. And then overall, again, the positive strikes are dying down a little bit, which is kind of a helpful indication. Anytime positive strikes are increasing, you have issues associated with what's going on in the thunderstorm, and it's evolving and changing. And so that's what we watch many times as well. But the one off to the east into western Arkansas, not a big problem. The one that is continuing, though, from now Jay to Little Kansas to around the Chewy area and then extending through Tahlequah, still an active severe thunderstorm. You see that pops on as Stacia loops that. Stacia, do you have a new storm track force that you could give us?
I can get one. I think I maybe see an outflow boundary just east of Tahlequah. Okay, I hope I do. Okay, those can be good signs there. All right, so this is a look too, Trav. I forgot I put this together of the shear tracks from today. Oh, good. If you want to take a look at that real quick.
I'll mention this real quick. And so what we're talking about is that on pretty much on radar at this moment that we're seeing that this is where the strongest of the winds have been located as we went through the last right now over the course of the last as the storms were moving through. So wherever you see this is indicative of some of the strongest winds, and most likely the highest potential for wind damage would be located in these areas, because these shear tracks say this is where the strongest winds that were kind of wild and going crazy basically showed up. So that's what we're seeing. Again, there was a little bit of that showing up in southeastern Osage County and around the Skiatook area, but it was right around Owasso when things really, really cranked up. And then it got going through Verdigris, then on over to the Inola area, and then started to die down a little bit, so that's good news there. Still, though, very active thunderstorms across the region, lots of lightning, and Stacia has a storm track.
Lots of lightning, lots of thunder, and lots of folks waking up tonight from these storms. All right, so we're going to track it to the east at about 55. It's probably closer to 50, but we want you to be ahead of these storms by a few minutes. So Welling 121, Kansas, Little Kansas at 122. It's just on the west side of town now, and in fact, the wind in Little Kansas is already picking up, because right now this track is for the heavy rainfall, and the winds, the strong winds, are just a little farther off to the east of this range. So the wind's going to come in first. Chewy, pretty much right now. Flint Creek would be about 125. The Colcord would be about 127. So these thunderstorms will be passing through Adair County, southern Delaware County, and again, we have our severe thunderstorm warning in effect for these areas. Chewy, Chance, Westville, England, Titanic, Proctor, all in Adair County under this severe thunderstorm warning, and will be anticipating this storm as it comes in. Now, Trav was pointing out where the strongest winds are, and again, these winds can still definitely do some damage tonight and knock your power out. We're still tracking power outage numbers. We're still tracking wind reports and damage coming in, but right now that's the latest track on the storms leaving Cherokee County here soon. It's in the far eastern side of Cherokee County and getting into western Adair County within a few minutes. Trav.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that update. Awesome update. We have canceled the severe thunderstorm warning in Tulsa County. National Weather Service officially did that. We didn't. But so that warning is now canceled as it has moved out of the area. And so the only one we're really left with is the thunderstorm that Stacia was just talking about that still is quite potent, still has a lot of energy associated with it. Nice rains up to the north, so that has been welcome news. Hey, Aaron, do you have a maximum heat index thing from, let's see, we're after midnight by quite a ways. I wouldn't mind just seeing that. I'm just briefly, while we don't really have a break, but I'm going to just mention, I was up in Nebraska with my family, taking care of them, and it was like, man, it was just unbelievable on Thursday. It was like, it felt like I was in Tulsa. And then on Friday, Saturday, and then before we left today, this afternoon, it was like, oh my goodness, north wind, temperatures were in the upper 70s. and the humidity was down. I was like, I wonder if I can follow this and ride this all the way down to Tulsa. But I got to Tulsa and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I was in pretty good shape. And then I got out of the car and then I was like, I had to take a shower. It was like, that took just a few minutes. So the maximum heat index, oh, that's after midnight?
Tell you what they were.
So, yeah, what was the maximum heat index?
120 in Okmulgee.
120 in Okmulgee. Wow. And those heat index numbers are still in the 90s, though, right? Is that right?
East Oklahoma there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's still, nothing's happened down southeast Oklahoma. Nothing's happened in Texas. Aaron, did I hear you say at 10 o'clock nothing's going to happen in Texas? Are they still stuck for a while?
Yeah.
It doesn't look too good for them yet. So
No, they haven't got any rain down there yet.
nothing good yet. So we're talking about folks down south, not nearly as fortunate as folks up to the north. Again, I was just like, wow, it can actually cool off in August. That's unreal. So we get our opportunity. This is part of that system that was up in Nebraska that moved through Kansas. Here's a look, just to give you an idea of some of the temperatures where it's 71 in Tulsa, better than even Coffeyville. You guys will get your temperature knocked down with showers in your area. And we're in the upper 60s, northwestern parts of the state. Still in the 80s down around Durant. And of course, this is a steam bath down here tonight because there's no outflow boundary from this. So all the rain has pretty much been concentrated to the north. But again, it just gives you a good idea. Aaron mentioned where our temperature's in the 80s for the next couple of days. So, man, we needed that break. I know. And just think, I wasn't even here to have it, and yet I was sweating because I knew it was going on here. It doesn't help. Sure. Sure, I was. Trust me, I'm a meteorologist. I shouldn't say that. Showers and thunderstorms, though, still for you guys. Off to the east, we'll continue this coverage for a while longer. And then you can see the severe thunderstorms look like they're kind of breaking up a little bit. And when you start to see it, not a smooth line, two things can be happening. One, you're a little bit further away from the radar. Two, the storms are just kind of losing most of their intensity. And so that's probably more of what's happening, even though we're not as close to the radar site. It is not quite as powerful as it was. There's still these bulging areas that came out of Chewy and is moving off a little bit further to the east toward the Watts area. So I would anticipate some winds of 60 miles an hour right along this leading edge in here. And that's pretty much right where we do have some wind shear showing up at this moment. And so you can see it right there. Stacia plotted that for us. So that would be like one of those locations. So there's just going to be these little areas where we're going to see some stronger winds kind of getting pushed out and around one of the cells. And when that happens, that's when we'll start to see maybe some damage, some power outage potential in some of these areas. And notice there's really not a whole lot of lightning stuff going on right around that area where the strongest winds are, where some of that is probably cloud to cloud, but then a lot of the lightning strikes that are cloud to ground are a little bit further northwest, a little bit further southwest. So it's kind of deceiving sometimes when it's like, man, what was that blast of wind? There was hardly any thunder, just heard a rumble, that's all. Some of that has to do with what's going on, for example, like in this situation. So it doesn't look quite as bad, but you get a little of these push out areas, and then that's what we're dealing with. So those outflow areas can make intense winds. So we're going to see that happening most likely as this continues to push to the east. But it's on the heels of this last thunderstorm that's in, this is western Arkansas. And so this is all western Arkansas. Here's Gravette, Arkansas. And so this thunderstorm kind of has been going across areas from really just eastern Cherokee County and Adair County and Delaware County, and then is moved to the east, kind of falling apart. This one's still solid enough that any place along this leading edge could have a few strong, isolated, severe warnings associated with strong winds. And this warning goes all the way into western Arkansas. So this extends into Benton and Washington counties and Crawford counties, I do think. Not quite to Crawford County. And so that's why we're going to continue to monitor this for a little bit longer for you guys, just because there could be some wind damage. Back in the Tulsa area, not as intense. And we're still seeing, though, with some of this, that with the wind potential to have died down, just a couple lightning strikes that are just going to pop up here and there. And can you come down into the Tulsa just a little bit more? And we'll just look, for example, see, these are the latest lightning strikes, the ones that are flashing. But we've had 9 lightning flashes. 3 have been positive, 6 have been negative. So it's back up to it's like, why is there so many of those? 33% roughly. But that's just because we're kind of on the back anvil of these thunderstorms. A lot of times the back anvil will have positive lightning strikes. And so that gives you a pretty good indication that we're kind of on the back side of the storm itself. So we just have a cell down around the ORU area, and then also one around Broken Arrow area, and then also up to the north and to the east. So we just kind of keep an eye on what's going on there. And Stacia, if you could give us another power outage update and maybe a rainfall update.
How did you know I was looking at power outages? Oh, you saw my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just looking at power outages, and latest numbers in Tulsa have come up to almost 700. It's about 69 customers in Tulsa County without power. We've had reports now starting to show up for Mays County. Numbers I don't think are where they'll top out at just yet, but we're at about 300 customers. For Rogers County, that number has jumped, now 45 to almost 5,000 customers. And Creek County is still at about 1,000, along with 1,000 over in Osage. So the power outage numbers, those are pouring into us. 65, as you can see there in Tulsa County, but the numbers online are up to almost 7. And so I think we'll still see these numbers go up for not just Mays County, but you probably have power outages in Delaware County, parts of Cherokee. I would not be surprised if we see it happen also in Adair. On our power outage map, you see all those little lightning strikes. Again, very, very electric, lots of thunder. These are loud thunderstorms coming in. On top of it, you have the strong winds, and you still have very, very heavy rain, torrential rain at times. And so it's not just knocking off power, it's also doing some damage in spots. We've had pictures of tree damage coming in from Owasso. So there's a lot still happening, but putting our warnings back on, the last storm that is warned on right now with a severe thunderstorm warning is in far southeastern Delaware County, far northeastern Cherokee, and northwestern Adair County around the Chewy vicinity, Trav.
All right, and so some rainfall amounts that are pretty significant, as Stacia was mentioning, and giving us a quick update on the power outages. It looks like we will not have to deal with too much more in the way of really significant severe weather. We do want you to continue, and I will mention this to anybody who will listen for a minute, is that the flooding situation still is potentially very dangerous. Sequoia is near the Claremore area right now. And since we've had so much rain in these areas, just keep saying, turn around, don't drown, turn around, don't drown. I know people go, whatever. But it really makes a difference. And there's usually, I don't want to say usually, every once in a while there is just a family or something happens where somebody thinks that they have to drive and they need to get someplace, or somebody's sick and they need to drive. Just be advised that these are some significant numbers. These are radar estimates, but this is in portions of Rogers County and then extending into southern Craig County and northern Mays County. So when you get to rainfall of this magnitude over the course of 3 to 4 or 5 hours, you have a lot of water that has fallen in a small area, and it has to go someplace because it's not going to soak in. And so that just makes, of course, low water crossings deadly. And we always talk about how much water it takes to take a car and float it off a roadway. And, even big old four-wheel drive trucks. We have videos of guys driving across there thinking, hey, I'm going to get across this, and pretty much it turns into a pontoon until it sinks. So it's just one of those things that we have to just be aware. Physics are at play tonight or this early morning for the maximum amount of rainfall you can really pick up in a short period of time. So these were heavy, we call it precipitation-loaded storms, and they were able to tap into all this humidity and moisture that we have. And then those thunderstorms just have so much water available, just so much precipitation in these columns that are above us. And then when it just rains, it's just cats and dogs. Toad strangler. Said that, and people said, what the heck is a toad strangler? But anyway, that's heavy rain. So that's what we're looking at. So please be careful in the areas from even southeastern Osage County. I know there's a bunch of low water crossings in some of those areas. So that's what we're looking at. Other areas of showers and thunderstorms continue up to the north. And we are looking for not a whole lot other than just rumbles of thunder and rain. Good rains here. We'll take it. Need it, fill up some lakes, some ponds, and then let a few ponds run over if there's a case for that. Our severe thunderstorm, though, itself will continue across. And now we've really moved the worst of the weather to around Siloam Springs. Let's take another look at that and see what we have going on. So this is just on the West Siloam Springs area around Dripping Springs. You can see, again, a little bit of a notch right along that area south of Dripping Springs. And there'll be some strong wind potential right in here. So we're still at 60-mile-an-hour wind estimates. Could be a little bit higher. So that's what I think we'll see. In fact, just take a quick look. The strongest wind gust we've seen is about 35 to 45. And we don't have any other reports that we've seen coming in that I can tell of anything other than of those winds. So we still think that this is a low-end severe thunderstorm warning. We okay on the?
Sequoia has some damage.
Okay, Sequoia does. All right. Sequoia, let's take a look at his video then and see what he has there, if you guys could. All right, Sequoia, where's this? Can you hear me?
I'm in Claremore right now. I'm sorry. I'm in Claremore right now. I'm on Highway 66 going out of town. Looks like they had some significant tree damage from the wind earlier. If we find some more or run across anything else, we'll keep you guys advised.
All right.
Back to you, Trav.
Squire, you're my hero. You're working and you got a cold and can't even talk, and you're still going for us. So appreciate you, sir. So again, he's not feeling super well, and Vaughn's down by Oklahoma City. He's covering severe weather down there for us as well. The heavy rain and thunderstorms now. So this is, this track of the strongest winds that were near Owasso to Claremore and then off to the east. We're going to probably find quite a bit of that where we'll have a lot of trees that'll have snapped and cause some probably power lines to go down. I'm sure that's happened. And then we're going to have to deal with that overnight to the morning hours. Most of the strong winds though now, and this is kind of a back play, or what Stacia did for us, looped a little bit of those strong damaging winds that kind of moved off to the east with that edge. And so that was part of the strongest wind that just came through this area. And so that's where we do think that most of the damage will have occurred from near Owasso to Claremore and then back around the Sequoia, not our storm tracker Sequoia, but Sequoia, Justice, Tiowa area, then back down to maybe around Pryor to around Choteau. As this has moved to the east, it didn't look quite as damaging wind, and so I think we're in pretty good shape, considering there's still going to be some folks that are without power. But the leading edge now pushing to the Arkansas state line. So we're just to the west of Siloam Springs, probably into West Siloam Springs right now. But this is not nearly the storm it was, and that is good news. So I'll tell our control room will probably in the next 5 minutes probably be going back to programming here in just a little bit, as this storm is expected to most likely cross over into Arkansas. And even though we have a severe tag to this, winds right now are probably about 50, maybe 60 miles an hour based on what we can tell and some of the latest data coming into us at this point. So there's the leading edge of it, just near the Siloam Springs area, coming up from Highway 50, really just paralleling 59. So in about another 5 minutes or so, that's going to be right across 59 and then moving into Arkansas. Winds estimated 50. Isolated areas could be 60 miles an hour. Most of the lightning strikes, again, not even associated with some of that line. And here's even an update right in here, just southeast of Chance and west of the Cincinnati, Arkansas area, and just to the west of Westville. This is probably, that could be a quick 60-mile-an-hour wind gust right in there. So it just depends. It's a little bit away from the radar sites, but we're just marginally just hanging in there on that severe storm. The backside of this storm still has gusty winds and heavy rain across northeastern Cherokee County and southeastern portions of really southeastern portions and central portions of Mays County. You're still picking up some rain. And then back to the west, just generalized light rain and occasional lightning strike that'll just probably make you jump up in the middle of the night and go, what the heck is that? So we're hoping that kind of quiets down quite a bit. But still a few lightning strikes in the area. Stacia, could you give us one more storm track, if that's possible, on that other storm? That would be great. I'd appreciate it.
I can. And so the storm that we're tracking is in Adair County, far eastern Adair County, so Watts and Westville, back up to Siloam Springs. And so we'll kind of zoom in here. We'll track the leading edge as it moves over Highway 59 and over into Arkansas. So it's getting into Siloam Springs now and the Watts vicinity. But just a quick track on this, and it's moving still at about 50. It's been holding steady at around 50 miles per hour to the east, which will take it over towards Fayetteville, and that will be within about the next 15 to 20 minutes. I have to move my lightning strikes back behind Trav's head to get that out of the way of our storm track here. But so for the Harmon vicinity, and again, this is over into Arkansas, White Rock at about 2 o'clock, Farmington also about 2 a.m. But Watts now, Siloam Springs right now, Westville pretty much right now. And again, this is far eastern Adair County, far southeastern Delaware County, heavy rain, and also some strong winds around Concord back to Little Kansas with a lot of lightning. So this is, again, the strongest part of our thunderstorm complex right now, moving out of Oklahoma, moving out of Adair County, Delaware County, but still some stronger winds back into Cherokee. So it's not quite over with yet around Tahlequah, but it will be soon as that back edge will move through. And then you have behind it even more rain, Trav, more lightning, and even still some gusty winds from time to time, like at around Hominy and back towards Skiddy to Pawnee.
Yes, and I was just looking, in fact, you kind of stole my thunder.
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll let that one go. Just that's the way you are. You just see those things. And we are also, I was just looking at kind of just southwest of Veneta, northeast of Claremore on that little edge that's coming up across this area. There's about 35 to 40 mile an hour winds associated with this. Did a little sampling on the radar, and so there should be a little bit of gusts that could be right in that range of 35 to 40. So don't be surprised. Still turbulent, and as Stacia mentioned, that goes all the way back into Osage County. So we're not going to quit covering, but we are going to go back to regular programming here in just a moment. So with that storm track, the only thing that we have to be aware of again tonight that is going to affect quite a few people would be the flood warnings. Most of these are set to expire around 2:30 this morning, so that's about another 45 minutes from now. But a few areas could be extended on into the early morning hours, like up to about 5 or 6. Stephen and Alan are going to be taking over here momentarily. And so what we want to do is just make sure that if you are in portions of Rogers, Mays County, and then extending back off into anywhere from, I'd say, southern Craig County and maybe even into southern Ottawa County and Delaware County, you're going to be on low water crossing alert status. Because I'm pretty sure that just about every creek that has a low water crossing bridge is going to be affected in those areas that have picked up that rain. And it's going to be very strong rushing water for several hours before that probably calms down, since there's some additional showers in a few of those areas. Out to the west, again, still a few lightning strikes going on, even all the way out to Stillwater. So this is going to take a while for this to calm down. If you missed the forecast, hey, yeah, let's just give a quick forecast. But this is a nice, big, broad area of rain. But what's really cool about this is the fact that we're going to be able to see most likely a pretty good chance of some decent weather coming up. So we're going to have to enjoy it while we can, because I think I heard Aaron say that as well. You got to enjoy it for 3 days. Then after that, we flip the switch back to August. And then it's like, that was weird, because that's what happened after midnight. It messed it up, didn't it? Yeah, so it's not quite the same. So that goes, 89 goes till when? At midnight, our computer advances. We've been busy doing severe weather, so we didn't change that. 89 is on Wednesday. So we can do that, can't we?
That should work if we pull up the
that'll do.
shows.
Anyway, I also want to point out, like lightning strikes have kind of come down here toward the end, and we'll go back there and see it 10, and then also, can you back that up just a little bit to when it was 2000? We'll go back to right. Should be go back past before midnight when the storms were right around Tulsa. Keep going a little bit further. Swear I saw 2000. Okay. Thought I saw 2000. Anyway, strikes were really maximized, and then they kind of, was sitting 17, 18, 19. There is 2000. What time was that? 11:43. All right. And then after that, then the storm started to kind of cool off a little bit, and then they started to drop off. And so we're starting to see a lot of lightning strikes that are starting to drop off. And so that's helping out as well. So that's the only thing I wanted to point out. Again, southern part of the area, odds of rain are not all that fantastic, but they're going to be good enough that we'll survive. And the other rain and thunderstorms, we should have good travel weather for the next couple of days if you do have to do any travel. And temperatures, going to be in the 80s. And what more could we ask for? Temperature 78. That would make me happy, I know, because I got to enjoy that for a while today. So when it's noontime and it's 78 degrees and northeast wind of about 15 to 20, you're just like, do I want to drive south for sure or not? But anyway, is it going to work? Not going to work? One more with the warning, Stacia, if you would give some.
Yes.
I'm going to go back just while we're waiting. That warning has been changed just a little bit, has been brought on over more into western Arkansas. The backside of that is chopped off. Right now, the strongest is in Benton County in northwest Arkansas. And that's already through Siloam Springs and down to around the Westville area, so that is it. So that looks okay. I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape now, as a majority of that storm is out of our viewing area. And even for you guys, if you might be watching us in northwest Arkansas streaming, the winds are probably about 50, 60 miles an hour in some of these areas. So that is probably what I would say is about it for that. So that's the latest of what's happening. Stacia, anything to change there or not?
No, power outages are slowly getting a little better in each county. We've had some progress there, so that's good.
All right. Anyway, so temperatures for the next couple of days in the 80s. Hope you enjoy that. And again, thank you for watching with us. And we will be back if these storms do anything goofy and try to do something goofy and start to flare back up. Otherwise, just enjoy the weather. Thank you for watching. Keep it here. We'll keep you advised.